Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Northern Soul Reaper and today I'm going to be finally taking a look at the 7th volume in the light novel series, So I'm a Spider, So What? Now before we get into the review, I just want to say that we are fast approaching 450 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I've got lots of anime, manga and light novel videos up on the channel. I'm sure that you'll find something that you enjoy, so check those videos out as well. So let's get right into the video. Before we get started on the review proper, just a quick spoiler warning. I will be going into a few minor details on the plot of this volume and calling back to some past volumes as well. So if you don't want to know anything about the story, you want to go in totally fresh, then I would suggest reading the volumes and then coming back to hear my thoughts. So I'm a Spider, So What? Volume 7, as expected, carries on pretty much straight away from volume 6 and where that ends. Our ragtag group of misfits are making their way through an expansive wasteland. White is continuing to train up her companions and herself using her various skills in order to make them stronger. Sophie in particular, White is trying to strengthen along with Mira, her guardian. She's trying to train them up so they're ready to face whatever may come their way. We learn a little bit more about the elves in this volume as told by the Demon Lord, specifically about some of the technology that they wield. We learn that the elves weren't the only one to possess this seemingly advanced technology. Rather, the rest of the world has regressed to a point that we find it in today. Or as one character puts it, this world is actually a post-apocalyptic one. At one point during their journey, the group comes upon a giant nest of ants, and after the battle is won, White inadvertently stumbles upon some ancient technology that was buried under the ground. In the process of being nosy and investigating further, White unwittingly unleashes a devastating ancient piece of technology that now threatens to destroy the entire world. This is so much of a threat, in fact, that old enemies Potamus, the Pontiff, and an administrator whose name I shall not butcher appear and team up with the Demon Lord and her allies in order to take down this new enemy. Whether these temporary allies are working together with altruistic reasons in mind or whether they have more selfish motives remains to be seen. And so begins a volume of So I'm a Spider, So What? That is incredibly focused. So much so that this volume takes place with one group of characters exclusively in and during quite a small period of time. This was actually initially quite jarring, considering the series has revelled in jumping around its own timeline so much in past volumes. Now, this isn't to say that it's a new concept. We haven't heard from Shun and his allies since the cliffhanger ending of volume 5, when the elves and the demons finally clashed, with some of the reincarnated students caught in the crossfire. Volume 6 seems to have set a new status quo of following one group of characters exclusively, this being the Demon Lord, White, and their companions. Part of the conclusion that I've been coming to over the past couple of volumes is that we are getting to a point where the present day and past timelines are going to eventually converge, and maybe it was just easier to do it this way and follow one group of characters because they were so close to unifying the timelines, and maybe we're going to get more present day exclusively in future volumes. Maybe there isn't much of a story to tell with Shun until White and the Demon Lord get to the point where they attack the elves. So it kind of feels like they're catching up the past timeline to the present timeline. At least that's kind of what I was thinking when I was reading it. But it still should be said that we haven't heard from Shun and the other reincarnations in quite some time, and I'm more than a little bit worried about what happened to them. Whatever the author's reasons for telling the volume story in this way, I'm very happy that this is how they decided to do it. It was really fun to stick around with the Demon Lord and her party, and it was truly awesome to see such a formidable group of fighters all together in one place and to see them in action. There are some absolutely epic battle sequences in this volume, and by staying in one timeline, it makes the threat feel immediate and real. If the volume had decided to intersperse some chapters from another character half a continent away, it might have cheapened the overall plot of the volume. So by staying very focused on this one event, it does the volume a service. Now, there are a couple of interlude chapters which mainly serve as exposition dumps, and it's usually between Sophie and Mira, and they are discussing various elements of the world pertaining to the volume and what's happening in the story. One such thing that they discuss is MA energy and its effect on the world, and how its abuse by generations past has led to the situation that the world is in. This world seems to have a very interesting history predating what's happening now, and it's really interesting to see that kind of uncovered bit by bit. The longer this series goes on and the deeper into the history and the lore of the world we go, the more it's mashing up the sci-fi and fantasy genres, and it's really fun. We've come a long way from this being just a simple isekai story with the typical video game tropes thrown in. This series is so special to me because it mixes genres so well, and it mixes different elements brilliantly. Every new revelation that we're given poses new questions, and it's all so exciting to read. There were points during the reading of this volume where I had to recall events that had happened or will happen in future volumes, and I got a little bit confused at times. This series has jumped around its own timeline so much in earlier volumes that I sometimes struggle to remember which characters were which and which events had happened or will happen. And there's a lot of characters in this volume, and something that I brought up in my Lord of Goblins review is that when a cast of characters gets bloated and you spend so much time apart from certain characters, or you take a break reading, you sometimes come back and struggle to remember who's who and who's done what. But what I will say is that by spending a lot of time in the past couple of volumes exclusively with the Demon Lord and White, it has helped to flesh out those characters, and I feel like the world building and the character development is all the better for such a decision. And I hope that we can also get some similar treatments of some of the other characters who we haven't seen in quite some time. What I'll also say, to the point of some of the plot elements being hard to remember or having to recall certain things, is the way that White narrates the story is a very convenient way for the author to remind us what's happened. So even though you might not remember every event that happened in absolute extreme clarity, White still does a good job of narrating things and her thought processes so that it fills in the blanks a little bit, so you at least have a bit of a reminder of what's going on. So the series is good in that way. It's just as the story grows and gets bigger, and we've had events from the past and the future or the present merging together, there were times when I was a little bit overwhelmed and I had to maybe go back and try and remember which character did what or where a certain character was at that point in time. But it didn't really detract from my enjoyment of the series, and like I say, the book does a pretty good job of filling you in on what's happened and which characters where when you need to know. Overall, I really enjoyed this volume of So I'm a Spider, So What. It felt like quite a welcome change of pace from the last volume, which, whilst still focused on the same group of characters, that volume was a little bit more slower paced and there was a lot less action in it. This one felt like a lot more action orientated, and it was really fun to see some characters really go all out and use the full potential of their powers, because this was really a threat that a lot of really strong and high powered characters had to come together and go all out against. It also teases kind of some of the battles that we might see in future volumes, so I'm really excited about that as well. This is to say nothing of the ending, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. It changes things in some really huge ways. The events of the ending of this volume are going to have repercussions that are felt for volumes to come, and it also gives us a little bit of an explanation about some of the things we've seen of White and her form that she takes in the present day future chapters from earlier volumes. I think this was an absolutely fantastic volume of So I'm a Spider, So What, and if you're already a fan of the series, you are going to love this volume. It reveals a lot about the world and it gives us some really interesting things to think about, so it's well worth checking out if you're already into the series. That's pretty much it for today's review. If you liked this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and if you would also consider sharing it with your friends who are also in anime, manga and light novels, that would really mean a lot as well. You can find me on social media, the tags for which will be somewhere on the screen now. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Northern Soul Reaper, and until next time, goodbye.